Hello. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
రాసుకుంటున్నాను
బెటర్ గులలో వస్తే అది తెచ్చుకుంటుంది
అలా వేసుకపోతా
Hello.
వద్దు.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Hello. Hello, students. Hello.
Sir. Good morning, sir.
మార్నింగ్ సార్.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
You are audible. You can keep speaking, sir.
Am I audible here?
Yes, sir. You can.
You are audible.
Yes, sir. You can start, sir.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You can start.
Yes, it is clear, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You can start, sir.
You are audible. You can start, sir.
Now we'll see today. Today we'll do background to African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures. Are you able to? Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So here, please, one of the students read the first paragraph of this page number 32. Can anyone of you read? Hello.
Sir, which paper is this, sir?
Yeah, yesterday's post-colonial literature, paper 3. Hello, one of the students. Hello.
Page number, sir. Page number.
Hello.
Page number 32.
Page number 32.
Hello.
సార్.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Here, background to African, Caribbean, and Canadian literature.
Can I start reading, sir?
అయితే మేడం ఇద్దరు కదా.
Hello, students.
Background to African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures. The lesson name is Background to African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures. First
Yeah.
paragraph. I'm reading, sir.
Yeah, please read it.
Much of the literature being written in at present comes from almost all parts of Europe rather than being limited to only Britain and the United States of America. Literary artists who have acquired international fame often belong to those colonies of the British or other European colonizing nations till fairly recently. The literature produced by variously termed as post-colonial Commonwealth or new literature has a quality of novelty, uniqueness, and freshness. This is the result of redefining the common nations of language, society, and culture generally encountered in English literature, lending a dominantly nationalistic tone with a globally acceptable universality. Those works usually deal with a particular group experience of imperialism and the cultural arising out of the experience of colonization. The impact of colonialism on the indigenous traditions of their past kind of impulse that can be translated into literature through the creativity endeavor of talented men and women belonging to these nations. In the earlier lesson, we have discussed detailed Australian literature, and in the present lesson, we shall talk about African, Caribbean, and Canadian literature. Let's complete.
Yeah. So here, the countries of Commonwealth as well as the post-colonial are influenced by the colonialism on the indigenous traditions of their past, created the kind of impasse that can best be translated into literature.
Divya, please mute your microphone.
So here, the background to African, Caribbean, and Canadian literature shows that how literature had the influence of the colonialism and the indigenous literature had their historical background of the traditions as well as the culture. So if we read this, then you can see how colonies of the British or other European colonizing nations till fairly, recently. So here, we'll see African literature. One major stream in the category or post-colonial literature is the literature being written in English by the artists of the Anglophone African countries. So students, here, the countries which are influenced by the colonialism had the touch of that kind of colonizers' language, and they wish to write in English. This literature considerably a recent development, and it is noticeable in the 20th century. Here, English is the transformation of the Afro-American literature, and similarly here Canadian and Caribbean literature. The writers have to take the common language to explore and to meet their demand, as and when they realized that the significant role of English became a political tool to uplift the relationship from the local to global. So the impetus to establish a typically African tradition of serious literature in English was felt by some artists of great caliber born in these parts. For instance, here, the indigenous people as well as the African tradition do not have the exposure of the English, but the writers start to write their concerns of social, political, economical, and cultural in English. And it is a challenge to the writers to meet the expectations of the reader. And the literature was in oral form, and it moved from oral narrative to the written script. So in Africa, it was a new experiment and it was a challenge, and it is a great turning point to the literature of the time. The way they too had the colonialism and how they were liberated from this kind of hegemony, and then they themselves emerged as the writers, thus came into existence a literature of startling range and admirable virtuosity, aptly represented by the texts of African literature prescribed for your study in this paper. So here, if we look at the post-colonial literature from this kind of historical background, the African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures are emerged from this kind of background, from unknown to known. As a beginning, Amos Tutuola published the poem Wine Drinker in 1951 to make the Western world aware of a new phase of development of African literature, cataloging the phases of development which this new literature went through. Gilbert Phelps suggests that African literature progressed. So here, African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures emerged from gutter to great heights because of its unfamiliar identities towards the familiarity, and it's a great shift and challenge to the writers of this background. And here, if we look at this literature from a progressive point of view, from the initial revulsion against colonialism and passionate reassertion of indigenous cultural values through disillusionment with the fruits of independence, and therefore either to a growing sense of alienation or to silence or to further explosions of anger and radicalism. So here, if we look at the Indian writing in English, similarly, you will see the reflections of African, Caribbean, and Canadian literature, because we have the touch of the colonialism and that kind of oppression, suppression, and exploitation. So whenever you look into the first phase Indian writing in English, there we can see that the writers emerged to explore the anti-colonial concerns in their writings. For instance, Rabindranath Tagore, R.K. Narayan, Raja Rao, Sarojini Naidu, and A.K. Ramanujan, Sri Aurobindo. These writers have that kind of concern to explore the concerns of the independence against the colonialism. So it is a great shift from the indigenous languages into the colonial language, that is English. So here, the way how they had tried to emerge as writers, as the intellectuals of colonial time, they had the thought of the English language as a political tool. So here, the writers of African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures are with this kind of background to say how that kind of resistance and the concerns of the freedom struggle emerged from the repressive social order of that time. So here, in addition, the common linguistic problem, the existence of 1,000 or so different languages and dialects in the African continent, which has meant the continued use by African writers of English as the universal means of communication. So here, whenever we look at the colonial history of India, we too had the indigenous languages, and there is no any common language to communicate from South India to North India or East to West. So here, African, Caribbean, and Canadian literature too had this kind of similar background, and they took English as a common language, and they had tried to unite the people against the colonizer. To begin with, African literature was a narrative of slaves, mainly in the form of autobiographies by those slaves who had become literature in spite of insurmountable barriers to their intellectual progress. So here, the autobiography of unknown citizen, Neeraj C. Chaudhary's, if we look at the writer's concern towards the history as well as the freedom struggle and his personal memoirs, the way here in Afro-Caribbean and Canadian literatures too had that kind of slavery and the exploitation personally and politically, socially. So here, the way they are emerging as self and the individuals of their own, then they had tried to look at the autobiography as a genre of the literature, and it is an intellectual progress. So here, creativity was an expression of their desire for freedom and quest for identity beyond the restricted one which they were allowed as slaves. During this phase of the development, African literature, the term negritude is commonly applied. So here, the way we have the Negroes as well as the blacks, and the use of the term negritude is more close to articulate their pains and struggles exploitation by the colonizer. If we look at the autobiography of African, Caribbean, and Kenyan literatures, then the way how they move from the self to social, personal to political. So, like that, here, the creativity they do not have, but they had that kind of history of their own land. Here, it is a motherland of their social, political, economical, and cultural concerns. So here, almost at the end of the decade of the 50s, the second phase of African literature begins, coinciding as it does with the gradual attainment of independence from the colonial rights by many African nations during the 50s and 60s. The way how African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures are shifting from decade to decade shows that there was a gradual change in their articulation, as well as the way how they portrayed the characteristic features of the literature from 1950s to 60s. So here, the literature of their own had that kind of colonial encounter, as well as the assertion for independence. If we look at all these, then the way how African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures are emerging from this kind of background to explore the thematic concerns against the colonial power. See, writers here in the African, Caribbean, and Canadian literature, Chinua Achebe, Ole Soyinka, and I.P. Armat, and here Gabriel Okara and Kamara Lay and others. So here, when we look at all these, then we can understand how African literature as well as the Canadian literature are with this kind of suppression and exclusions of that colonial power politics. So here, the writers had tried to emerge as poets, novelists, and the dramatists from this kind of background. So you see here the way how literature emerging from this kind of historical background. And when we look at all these, then the literature of the negritudes and the indigenous cultures shows that kind of literary genres from the way back to centuries. So here it is a break from the colonial power to explore and to assert and to become a counter discourse. So here the way how it was in the oral form and then written as well as a storytelling. So like that here in this literature we can see that all the whatever the concerns of the African, Canadian, Caribbean literatures are emerging from this kind of thought-provoking ideas to explore that kind of individuality, and it is in the form of an autobiography. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, students.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello, yeah, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So here, when we look at this kind of background of the African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures, then we can see the writers had tried to break the history of the colonial power politics, and they wish to transform the identity of their negritude, or the way to have that kind of explorations from the personal point of view, and to re-establish their culture in against the colonial power politics. The tradition of drama is impressive and potent in African literature. So here, if you look at the dramas of the colonial time by our Indian writers, for instance, take Rabindranath Tagore, had the kind of background of our tradition, and it has that kind of richness of the culture, language. For instance, if we look at the Telangana culture and the narratives of the Telangana region, had the touch of the names of their gods and goddesses, and the culture of their festivals. For instance, if we look at Batkama festival, festival of colors, flowers. So each and every aspect of the Telangana is related to indigeneity, and it is extraordinary. It is an extraordinary with that kind of richness. So here, the oral forms of storytelling were close to drama. So in a drama, we can see that how the characters and the language and the music are part of drama, and the oral narratives are very close to the audience, spectators of any contemporary age. So here it communicates from their indigenous background, and it is making sense of their livelihood. And here, for instance, family and society, and how the literature has been including the unexplored, untouched, and here the way how the writers emerging from that kind of oral narratives to a written form, and they had tried to look at the silence of untold stories in their oral narratives, because the indigenous experience and that kind of whatever their concerns. So here in African Caribbean literature too had this kind of background, and here we have Derek Walcott, Ole Soyinka, and James Henshaw, and others are there. African literature is a creative output of women, often arising out of the belief that their male counterparts. Hello? Hello?
Sir, here.
Hello?
Sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
So here, if we look at the African, Caribbean and Canadian literature, from this kind of traditional oral narratives background, the richness of their culture is unknown to the world, but they had tried to use the common language to explore or to communicate globally. So whenever they had this kind of indigenous authentic experience of their personal and social life, they had tried to transform, they had tried to articulate with their creativity. So here in African, Caribbean and Canadian literature, the writers had that kind of richness of the creativity because they had the authentic experience of their culture as insiders. So here, if we look at the writers from this kind of field, Amma Ata Aidu, Buchi Micheta, mothers of Joyce of Motherhood, Bessie Head, Flora Nwapa, and Jainab Alkali and others. So here, the writers had touched each and every aspect of their indigenous insiders' experience. African literature, especially those works written in English, their attempt is to use this disadvantage and convert it into a positive frame of appropriation by depicting a female-centered ethos. So here, the narratives of the mainstream are more popular in terms of their thematic concerns and use of the language. But whereas the language of the indigenous people may not have that kind of popularity, because the language of the indigenous people from one another two not able to reach, not able to communicate. So here, Afro-American writers crossed the barriers of the language, and they had tried to look at that language from this kind of background. That, hello, can you hear me? Hello, students.
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You can hear, sir.
Hello.
So here, whenever there is a break from the colonial power, and the indigenous writers took English as a vehicle for writing, and they had tried to explore the tradition, culture, language from that kind of insider's point of view. Whenever they had tried to look at the language in terms of the communication, they had tried to bring English as a common language and to build that kind of gaps between the indigenous people. So here, it's a challenge for them, but they had tried to overcome that barriers of the language, because here they had tried to establish English to bridge the gap between the indigenous people. Writing in French and English, here they had tried to look at that how the language matters in terms of their transformation of the identity. Here, when we look at all these aspects of the African, Caribbean, and Canadian literature, then here the language and the literature are very close to the tradition and culture. So here, the writers of that age, here they had tried to look at that how that English will be a transformation for their creativity, and simultaneously the other side, they had tried to bring to the notice of the reader that how the indigenous language will be
Sir, what is this
translated
indigenous, sir?
the foreign language. So this is what here the major novelists of this African, Caribbean, and Canadian literature had that kind of their insiders experience with the creativity in their writing. They characterized that kind of artistic excellency in terms of the portrayal of the characters. So here, whenever we look at the Indian writing in English, Indian English writing are also to have this kind of challenges. Similarly, the writers of the colonial time to had the challenge to explore from local to global, because here, as we all know, that here it is a multilingual and multicultural country, but they had tried to look at that English will be a common language. Now we look at here Caribbean literature, as we have seen the African literature, and now we look at the Caribbean literature from this kind of background. Here, earlier designated as West Indian literature, Caribbean literature today is a very powerful post-colonial literature being written in English. So here, the third world countries of any literature are all with the English language, and they discovered this kind of the creativity into the foreign tongue, no matter of their historical background. So here we look at that how Caribbean literature had the challenges and issues from day to day of their concerns. So here, from all these issues of conflict, a strong creative streak has emerged, which enjoys popularity as Caribbean literature today. So this is what we can see how Indian writing English literature as well as Indian literature in translation moved from local to global to receive the honor and name and fame awards. So when we look at the Caribbean literature, too had the challenges, and it had that kind of creativity to overcome the challenges and issues. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir, we can
Hello,
hear you.
students.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Sir, what is this indigenous writer, sir?
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You have said now that indigenous writers. What it is meant for that, sir?
Local people. For instance, what is your mother tongue?
Telugu.
Yeah. Which language do you speak?
Telugu, sir. Telugu. Mother tongue is Telugu.
I told you that how Telugu literature translated into English to explore the concerns of the culture tradition. So here, indigenous people's concerns are with their mother tongue, and if it will be translated into English, then it will be acquiring that kind of global name and fame. So when we look at the African Caribbean literature to have this kind of touch, that how it has the history of the language and culture. And see what I'm doing, madam. Why are you waiting here? You go outside, no, please. Hello. Yeah. So when we look at all these, historical, backgrounds of. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here, as we know that indigenous languages are in more in India, but the common language is English. Because of the creativity, English writing became more popular, and here the Caribbean literature had that kind of all these aspects. Okay, right. Yeah. So here, when we look at the way back 2 centuries, and in 1930, a journal was started in Trinidad called the Beacon, and it gave impetus to writers such as Alfred Mendes, C.L.R. James, who tried to align creative writing to local racial politics. A new standard of technical excellence was set by Vivian Mochu, whose experiential experiment work, Wings in the Morning 1938, was much lauded. Hello, students. Hello.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Sir, a small doubt
Hello.
is there, sir. Hello?
Hello?
Sir, here.
Hello?
Sir, we are
Sir, we
here.
can,
Sir, we can hear you, sir.
Hello, sir.
What happened?
no, sir, we are saying hello. You are unable to listen to us, sir.
Yeah. Here I am
When you
talking
say-
about the African, Caribbean and Canadian literature. The literatures of the third world countries. Can you hear me?
Here, sir.
Hello?
Listen, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The literatures of third world countries had the touch of the colonial practices. Maybe it is language as well as the subjugation and exploitation. Here, the people of the third world countries had tried to write against the colonizer, as and when they wish to write in English, then their creativity emerged from the tradition and culture. But the English is a new language for them, though they had tried to establish their identity with this colonizer's language. In post-colonial literature, the way how counter discourse emerging from this kind of historical background of the culture and the tradition, and then the writers like Buchi Emecheta and African writers Ole Soyinka, Derek Walcott, and the other writers had tried to explore their voices in different genres. For instance, poetry, prose, drama, and here drama is more popular to visualize their concerns from the socio-political, economical backgrounds. The post-war years were a time of growing nationalism in Caribbean literature, and here we can see that hopes of a regional federation, feelings of anti-colonialism, and interest in local culture. As I told you that, hello, can you hear me? Hello, students.
Yes, sir. Listen, yes, sir.
Yeah. For instance, if you look at Indian writing in English, similarly, it had that kind of hope of a regional federation, feelings of anti-colonialism, and interest in local culture. Though we were colonized by the English language, but we wish to have our own local culture and anti-colonial concerns in our feelings or writing. So similarly, in Caribbean literature, the writers had tried to establish these concerns in their voice, and it is a voice under the window. If we look at John Hearne, whose voices under the window is a reflection of social and cultural presence that had developed among the middle class of the period, and the increasing awareness that their values were not necessarily those of the populace. So here, if you look at from this kind of background, Caribbean literature is a reflection of social and cultural presence that had developed among the middle class of the period, and the increasing awareness that their values were not necessarily those of the populace. For instance, if you look at the concerns of Indian writing in English, Indian literature in translation, Indian English writing are all from this kind of background. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, sir.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Hello,
Sir.
students.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
For
sir.
instance, if you read Telugu literature as a poem or a novel, then the writers had tried to
Vikram,
portray the common man in their explorations with that kind of culture and tradition, no matter of their limits of their family and society, but they had tried to look at their concerns from their background, that how best they can explore their voices from local to global in English, and the way how they try to transform and to break the colonial power from their understandings. So here, in Voices Under the Window, we look at that reflects the social and cultural presence that had developing among the middle class of the period, and increasing awareness that their values were not necessarily those of the populace. So here we had the British Empire, East India Company, and they used to educate us to have that kind of white collar and desktop jobs. But we have our own culture to work as agriculture laborers or artisans or of our own interest. Then the way it is nothing but east-west encounter, and the writers of the colonial time had explored the interest of the artisans or the cultural representations from their background to the global explorations. So here there is a great shift from the colonial time to the post-colonial time, and here Caribbean literature had tried to look at the way how it is making sense of its literature from this kind of background. So this is what you can understand how the Caribbean literature has been shifting its identity from indigenous to international. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello, students?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I
Yes,
can.
sir.
Yeah.
I'm
So
listening.
indigenous to international. So indigenous culture and tradition are bound to Telugu language and Telangana state, but whenever the culture and traditions were explored into English, then the literature into English had the recognition of international name and fame. So here, in terms of the Caribbean literature, too had this kind of background. Hello, students.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here it is very simple to understand that how our Telangana literature moved from the local to the global. Similarly, Caribbean literature also trespassed into the international level. Here, the way how the colonial power and hegemony practices were demolished by the Caribbean writers. So here we have the Edgar Mitterhoger and Samuel Selwyn, George Lamming. Here they had tried to explore their concerns from the graphic picture of the process of creolization. So here in English we have pidgin and creole as observed by Michael Wilkes. Mitterholger's work is seen as an attempt at a deeper psychological level, and here the importance of novels as well as psychic disintegration is central. And here, Caribbean literature that wrestling contradiction of being white in mind and black in body. It is a dilemma out of which paradoxically much of the vigor and originality of Caribbean writing derives, since it continually forces the artist to make creative use of his schizophrenia. For instance, hello students, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So here, black skin and white marks, French panels. For instance, here, Lord Macaulay said that the Indians are in blood, but not taste, but their attire, their culture will be in Western taste. So by blood and color, we are Indians, but by taste, we are colonized. Are you able to understand? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello, students.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here,
Yes,
by
sir.
blood and color, we are Indians, but by taste, we are foreigners. Is it or not? Hello?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So look
Yes,
at
sir, yes.
here, the way we were colonized to have the kind of taste of the foreigner, but we have the kind of schizophrenic creativity to write against the empire. For instance, Ashley Biltraps, The Empire Writes Back. Here we have the John Lamming, became a classical writer with the publication of his novel In the Castle of My Skin. And here, if you look at that child growing up in Little England in the decades of the 1930s and 40s, his style is poetic and marked by close observation of village life. The author shows deep empathy with the social change and barbarian speech, but narrates is stained with protest, exoticism, or idealization in addition. Lamming wrote powerful poetry, which was his initial creative output. For instance, can you hear me? Hello, students. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Canadian literature, similarly Caribbean literature, John Lamming, one of the poets, had tried to explore the kind of invisibility and voice of voiceless, silence of untold stories in poetry of his creativity. So here, the poem is more interesting to know that artistic excellency, creativity, and that kind of intellectual argument against the colonizer. And here we look at B.S. Naipaul, who has looked at the region with the clear eyes of a reporter, skeptical of and disenchanted with cultural myths. He has become a critic of slogans and false hopes. So here, if we look at the Caribbean literature, very close to the Indian writing in English, Sri Aurobindo, Rabindranath Tagore, R.K. Narayan, Raja Rao, all these writers had tried to argue against the colonizer. So similarly, here we have the B.S. Naipaul, who had tried to criticize the colonizer and colonized people that with the empty verbiage, verbal sloganism. And here, if you look at some novels are the mystic Masseur, 1957, and the suffrage of Elvira, 1958, both of which are satirical in treatment characterized by sophistication and stylistic precision. So here we can see that Caribbean literature from this background and the style of the poetry also with the stream of images, symbols and events with no attention paid to casual relationship. As Bruce King says, hello students, hello.
Yes,
Sir.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. Please come to page number 39.
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
hello students.
Sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
here the language and in terms of the use of diction in poetry, if you look at page number 39, as Bruce King says, such fluidity, fragmentation, and improbability of narratives are used by the author to show that the West Indies are a new society, a new beginning. So here we look at this kind of background that it's a new beginning, it's a new era, it's a change for their explorations. The past, rather than being a burden of fierce, varied materials with which the imagination can build a new culture from the many races and peoples in the Caribbean. While it is possible to suffer impatience with the Harris densely textured fiction, it is also possible that he is one of the greatest writers of our time. So here, Caribbean literature is a reflection of schizophrenia, sufferings, exploitation, and asset for independence. Can you hear me, students? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello, students.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. I can hear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I told you that the break from the colonial power and the creativity emerging from the indigenous people as well as the writers, it's a new wave and it's a challenge to the colonial hegemony because they had realized that too have their literature of their own and to explore from their insiders' point of view. So it is a counter discourse, it is a resistance, it is an experience nostalgia of suppression and oppression and exploitation. So here, the writers of the Caribbean literature have been trying to remind the past into the present and the future with a kind of assertion for the independence as well as the freedom. Among women creative artists, the name of Jean Rees is noteworthy. Her major work is the novel White Sargasso Sea, in which Emma Dash says, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello, students. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So look at here. Her experiences, memories, and knowledge of the West Indies are inextricably and fundamentally part of the story and not there to evoke sympathy for a heroine or to serve as a brief comparison with the coldness and loneliness of the metropolis. Her most complete and fulfilling work in which she gathers all the themes which preoccupy her and incorporate them into a wider and more comprehensive statement on the intricacies of human relationships that does not focus on the plight of the woman alone. So here, when we look at this kind of statement by our writers, then we can think that how Caribbean literature emerges from this kind of all the aspects which are the memories of the past as well as the concerns of their independence struggle. So here it's a break from that kind of colonial hegemony to have their concerns from periphery to center. Okay, so here hello, hello students.
Yeah, sir.
So when we look at the explorations from this kind of background, that how the Caribbean literature emerged from that kind of darkness to light, and how it incorporated that kind of preoccupied thoughts of the past with the creativity and assertion for their self-respect and dignity. So here, in this, Caribbean literature, that they never and ever tried to romanticize. They had tried to explore the facts, reality, maybe from dark, savage, and unfathomable. So here, the writers of this concern are all with that kind of ground reality. Yeah. Now we will come to Canadian literature. Can any one of you read, please, page number 40, Canadian literature? First paragraph, Canada is huge country. Hello?
Sir, can I read?
Yeah, please.
Canadian literature. Canadian is a huge country to the north of USA and therefore has often been considered as an extension of its nation. Its geographic features are typical and had a great impact on the creative output coming from this place. For instance, the high altitude, the Great Lakes, the scanty population made the country economically unimportant because the extreme cold climate and barren landscape were not of much use to the colonizer. The country faced two colonizing influences, French and English, and therefore is divided into two distant nations, the French Canada and the British Canada. It is obvious from this that the major language here are French and English, and therefore Canadian writing is both Anglophone and Francophone.
Yeah. So here, as we know that the African Caribbean literature and here Canadian literature. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So with this kind of background, that how it's an extension of this nation with the geographic features, and here with the creativity output coming from this place. As we all know that how the third world countries are from this kind of background of the dark age, and they had tried to emerge for their literature as well as their concerns of the counter discourse against the colonizer. Here, French and English, and therefore is divided into two distinct nations, French Canada and the British Canada. It is obvious from this that the major languages here are French and English, and therefore Canadian writing is both Anglophone and Francophone. So this is what here it is with this kind of infusion of the British Canada and French Canada. So the name Canada comes from the Spanish word acadena, meaning a place where nothing is there. So if you look at that, a place, without anything, the reference was rather negative in the colonial past, but today it has taken on positive overtones. So here, as we know that the place without anything, but here it is known as a great place at present. The initial phases of colonial encounter in Canada were marked by violence and displacement of the natives who were relegated to some areas called the reserves. So, as we have seen, this kind of displacement as well as migration of the natives because of the violence in Canada to have this kind of instances. For instance, one of the native tribes called Voites who lived in Newfoundland were murdered indiscriminately. It is only in the recent years that the native history, tradition, heritage, and literature are gaining recognition. So here we look at the history from the violence, displacement of Canada, that how the Canadian literature had this kind of dark age and brutality by the colonizer. Initially, the natives were called Indian or Red Indian because of the common practice among them of painting the body with an insect repellent which was red in color. Later, the word aboriginal was used, but today this too is politically incorrect, and the people may be called the original native inhabitants of Canada. So here, when we look at the Canadian literature from this kind of dark side of the colonial power and the exploitations, brutality, as well as displacement made them to identify as Red Indians because of the painting the body and aboriginals. And here, as and when their identity has been modernized, then here they are with this kind of identity of their land. Canada is a young nation, and it has a literary traditions way back to centuries of England, France, and US. The formation of the Canadian canon was initiated by early literary histories of the country. Here, way back to centuries of this literary tradition of the England and France, and here it formed that kind of canon with the spiritual and political development of the nation towards the close of the century. Canadian writing metamorphosed into stanzas characterized by growth, coherence, and a definite identity. So here, the way how they had tried to overcome the issues which are quite against to them, and they had shifted from one place to the other place because of the displacement, brutality, maybe violence. So here, as and when their identity has been named as Red Indians and Aboriginals, and the way how their roots were in England and France, and the way how the literature towards their concerns of their identity. Here, the nationalist aspect of Canadian literature, since its earliest mainstream manifestation, is committed to prioritizing national self-definition and self-promotion. So, as and when the nationalism formed the identity of self-definition, self-promotion emerged. Indian nation, as we know it today, came into being in 1967, before which the country was made of outposts and colonies. As and when that kind of landscape, customs, and languages were part of the broad identity of Canadians. Here, in addition to their move, travel writing, memories, and diaries were common mainly by women writers such as Dorothy Black Smith, Anna Brownell, Monica Stokes, and Catherine Pott. So, like that, here the writers also had tried to establish the Canadian literature from this kind of background. And here, Canadian characterized the Canadian literature as it was by humor, irony, and a new style which combined the genres of fiction and non-fiction. In 19th century, Canadian literature favored form of writing, and the aesthetics governing poetry was the one imbibed from Britain. So here, the writers have been trying to locate themselves with this kind of humor, irony, and new style, which combine the genres of fiction and non-fiction. Here we have writers of the 18th and 19th century, Oliver Goldsmith and Charles Songster, Lord Byron's Childe Harold's Pilgrimage. Another significant poet of 19th century in Canada is Isabella Valency Crawford. So here there were many writers of this background, and the poets called the Confederation poets. So as and when a group of poets called Confederation poets, such as Charles G.D., Robert Bliss, Cameron. So here, when we look at all these, then we can see how Canadian literature has been emerging with this kind of background of the displacement, as well as exploitation, violence, and brutality. So here, the genre of fiction is more or less a recent phenomenon in Canadian literature. So as and when through the centuries, they have been trying to shift their identity politics in literature, have many changes in its explorations. So when we look at all these aspects, then the drama in Canada was slow to develop because theatre requires a populated community which can form the audience at a dramatic performance. So here, when we look at the way back to centuries of the 18th century and then 19th and 20th century, each and every genre of the Canadian literature has been trying to locate its identity with its performance. Similarly here, the drama too had that kind of development. In Canada, the scanty population did not facilitate this, and therefore drama was not a top priority creative activity of the nation initially. But this has changed after the Second World War with dramatists such as Merrill Dennison, Van Paris, Ringwood, Robertson, Davis, and James Rennie. At present, it is a prolific genre. So here, the genres of literature of Canadian history shows that poetry was more popular rather than any genre of the Canadian literature. And here, in terms of the drama, it does not show any kind of impact over the society, but gradually there was a shift in its performance, and then the dramatists had tried to establish with that kind of popularity in recent times. Recent trends in Canadian writing stresses the need to create order through myth and art. So here, if you look at Shakespeare's dramas way back to centuries, and then G.B. Shaw's, and then if you look at the Kenyan dramas, there is a gradual change in its elements of myth and art. The major preoccupation in this process is to explore the relationship between art and language on the one hand and reality on the other. Also includes the establishment of a link between the discourses of art and the structures of social and cultural power. So if you look at the dramas of that age are from this kind of discourse of art and the structures of social and cultural power. So if you look at all these, then we can understand how dramas were popularized by the explorations of the relationship between the art and language. On the other hand, reality on the other side of its inclusiveness of link between the discourses of art and structures of social and cultural power. So when we look at the Caribbean literature and Canadian literature are from this kind of background, then here Canadian literature has been trespassing into this kind of unexplored areas of the art and language, and with that kind of structure of social and cultural power. In the era of post-modern, Canadian literature has witnessed the coming together of separate disciplines such as philosophy, linguistics, history, sociology, literary criticism, and psychoanalysis, where the reader, writer, and text have to meet within the context of these disciplines. In this phase of postmodern Canadian writing, themes such as ethnicity, feminism, and immigration are repeatedly dealt with. So here, as we know that how African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures are from this kind of break of the colonial power politics and practices to have their own literature. As has been noted, this writing has transfigured the emphasis on regionalism in literature into a concern for the different, the local, and the particular. So here, if we look at the formation of the Telangana state from erstwhile Andhra Pradesh, how Telangana dialect, culture, art, and language explored in literature, and how it reflects the culture of Telangana people as a novel or a drama. So here it is similar to Caribbean literature, that how it has that kind of richness of the regionalism in literature into a concerns of different, the local and the particular. So this is what we can see, that how Canadian literature too had this kind of background. Canadian writers refigure the realist regional into a postmodern different. This is done through challenges to authority in nationalist politics, gender politics, and issues related to indigeneity. Canadian writing of the 1990s focused on communicating diversity and dismembering the universality. The most remarkable effort in this direction was made by criticism. Impetus has been provided to Canada's literary enterprise in various forms and through the encouragement given by various extra literary sources. These include the state's cultural policy, the publishing industry, and the role played by journals and little magazines. So here in Indian literature, we have the history of the past and the literature of the contemporary age with this kind of discourse of counter discourse and its resistance against the colonial power politics. So here, Indian literature, remarkably known as post-colonial literature, and its establishment with the recent trends with its identity politics of their creativity, that how they had tried to bring the genres from the different backgrounds, which are maybe diversity, dismembering universality. So here, the politics of nationalist, gender politics, issues related to indigeneity. In Canadian literature, the way how it has been reshaping the identity of their local towards the global to show their concerns of the social, political, and economic. So here, African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures are with this kind of similarities of the suppression, oppression, exploitation, and their identity politics with that self-respect or dignity, or that could be any kind of literary genre from their point of view, shows that how the African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures are broken the boundaries of the colonial power politics and identities of that hegemony. So with this, I stop here and we'll see in next class the other topic. Hello? Hello? Hello,
Yes,
students?
sir. Yes, sir.
Here we have done African, Caribbean, and Canadian literatures. Okay, so if you go through this, then you can understand that how this post-colonial literature has been an inclusive of third world countries which are free from the colonizer, which are accepting for independence in their literary history. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll meet you. Today, do I have one more class? Hello? Yeah,
Yes,
we'll meet you in next class.
Yes, sir. It's sir.
So thank you. We'll see you.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Okay, sir. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
welcome. Right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.